Hey guys, welcome back to another video. If you don't know who I am, brief introduction. I'm a 1L at the University of Miami School of Law. I've been in law school for around 1 month now. Today I had my civil procedure class and I also had my property class. Tomorrow I have a torts class and I also have an elements class. I've mentioned this in previous videos, but elements is a course specific to the University of Miami School of Law, so they require it. It's not an elective. In order to graduate from that school, you have to take it. It's an abstract course because you're learning how to interpret statutes. The whole point of it is that statutes can be very ambiguous. You have to think about the statutes from a perspective of what did the legislators who wrote it intend when they were writing it? What was the purpose of the statute? And then how is it applied today? We also look at individual cases using those lenses, I guess you could call it. So that's not my favorite class ever, honestly. I do really like torts though, so it's nice to have a class that I enjoy mixed with a class that I don't enjoy, just so that I don't hate 2 days out of the week. I'm gonna hop right into my torts class and let you know how many pages I have to read and then just start reading. For my torts class, I have to read a total of 15 pages, so not too shabby, but I did hear from my classmates that my elements class is a little bit more packed. The bright side is that my professor for that class rarely ever goes over everything we had to read, so you're kind of safe in terms of that aspect. And he also does a very predictable cold calling schedule, so he'll go row by row, meaning that if you're called one day, you probably won't be called for another week. I've only been called on once, and then I've raised my hand in that class, but that doesn't really count towards cold calling. This is what my torts book looks like. Real ones know that it's a red book. Let's see what I'm going to be reading about today. It's page 258. By the way, if you're wondering how much this costs, let me know, and I think I made a video about it, but if I didn't, then I'll make a video about how much my books cost, or I'll mention it in the next video. It looks like we're going to be talking about methods of proof of negligence. I'm just skimming it, and it basically tells you how to prove a negligence case. And yeah, I'll come back to you guys once I'm done reading. Before I start, if you know, you know, please try bubbly if you like soda and you just are like, I can't do the unhealthiness of soda, but you love the experience of soda. Bubbly, highly recommend. By the way, this is my book stand that I use at home. And this is not my highlighting. I bought a used book, so. But yeah, that's what it looks like. Highly recommend if you're starting law school, get a book stand. I have like 3 different book stands. So I'm doing Pomodoro method and following a YouTube video that basically gives you a set interval to study within, and then they give you like a 5 to 10 minute break. So I finished the first patch of study time that I had to do, and I wanted to talk to you guys about what I just read. So I read a case. Let me tell you what it's called. It's from 1863. It's Byrne versus Bodle, I think is how you pronounce it. And we learned about, I don't know if I'm saying this right, so I'm sorry, res ipsa loquitur. And that means the thing speaks for itself. This is the first time that I've heard this in law school. I'm pretty sure I've heard those words before in a movie or something. In this case, let me recite the facts for you as best as I can. Essentially, the plaintiff had filed a complaint alleging that he was injured when he was passing by along the highway in front of the defendant's premises, and the defendant at this time was a dealer in flour. While the plaintiff was passing by, he was struck by a barrel of flour from a window above. And essentially, this case was based on res ipsa loquitur, and the Judge Pollock, I think is how you pronounce that name. Judge was saying that there's no way that a barrel could roll out of a window and that not be negligence. Okay, really quickly, I'm editing this video in real time, so the same day that I filmed the last part of the video, because I just want to get it out there as soon as I can. And I want to clarify that I'm not telling you guys the full extent of everything that I read in the book. Also, I ended up having the class on res ipsa loquitur, and I don't know if that's how you say it, by the way, I still don't know, but professor calls it RIL, and I haven't mentioned to you guys the fact that there are elements that you have to prove to have like a successful RIL theory, and there are also other theories that you can base your negligence case on, so this isn't like the only theory that
I'm not sure I understand.
this isn't the only theory that attorneys can have. Point is that I'm not saying everything to the fullest extent, so please, like I say in the future, take everything I say with a grain of salt, please, because I'm just, it's like my first day out here. Like, I'm not an attorney, so please. It's kind of interesting how when I read something, I agree or disagree, but let's say I agree on a case, and then once I go on to read the little notes after the case, so it's not part of the judicial opinion, it's just like a note by the author of the book, they introduce a different perspective. So they'll introduce other cases where it's actually the opposite. And there's one excerpt from like the 1800s. Let me see if I can find. From Lord Halsbury. So this was in 1886. And he presents a situation where there's a moving train and a person who gets hit by the train. He essentially says, how can we assume that the train hit the person without even considering if the person had intended to hit the train? But if a man ran across an approaching train so close that he was struck by it, is it more true to say that the engine ran down the man or that the man ran against the engine? So he's against the whole res ipsa loquitur thing in this excerpt that he gives. And I don't know, it's just really interesting because I read a case, I kind of think about it, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, that's so true. But then when I read the notes afterwards, I'm like, wait, I didn't even think about this situation. So honestly, the law, from what I've gathered, is never really black and white. There will be a case for every single argument possible, in my opinion, if that makes sense. I take everything I say with a grain of salt because I'm literally a first-year law student, so things I say are not in any way ever super accurate because I'm not the professor, I'm not a lawyer, but it's still interesting to talk about when I'm reading. My cat is trying to plan an escape. Okay, it's 2 days later. I clearly did not finish filming, but today's Thursday. I have my civil procedure class and my property class. I'm going to do the civil procedure readings during my break once again, just because I think there's only a little bit to read and I wanted to go to sleep early. I'm really hungry. I had nothing to eat. I just watched this vlog of some people talking about how Starbucks is really bad. But this morning, the first thing I was thinking was I really want Starbucks, so I'm gonna treat myself. Okay, the game plan is to go get Starbucks on campus. So we'll see if we have enough time. For some reason, the left side of my neck has been really hurting. It feels bruised for some reason. I don't know why. It's like in this area, if anyone knows what that could be. But anyways, could just be the way that I slept. I'm currently in the bathroom, but I'm reading for my civil procedure class. I have 1 hour to go. I forgot my laptop at home, so I had to handwrite all my property notes. What a struggle, I know. I'm trying to be positive. I got Starbucks this morning and it was literally terrible. Yeah, I mean, I got an outline from someone and the outline was really good. So that's also positive. I'm excited to crank out this next class, which is one of my favorite classes. The professor's just really nice, really funny, and the material is pretty familiar to me because of my job as paralegal. I popped open a bubbly because I'm officially back from classes. I had my property class this morning, as you know. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I left my laptop at home and I was already on campus when I realized. So I went up to my professor at the beginning of class and I was like, hey professor, I left my laptop at home. Is there any way I can type my notes on my phone? And he was just making jokes about, you know, I could handwrite my notes, I might get distracted by my phone. All valid points. So he said at the end of the day, like, it's fine, I can do it. And he was like, thanks for letting me know. But I ended up handwriting my notes because I felt like he was pushing a little hard on the handwriting. So that was a good class. During lunch, you already know, I went to the library and read for my civil procedure class. Civil procedure class was good. I went to my torts professor's office hours after my civil procedures class. That was at around 3:45 p.m. and it was really good. A lot of people showed up. He had kind of pressed us the previous class about showing up to Thursday's office hours, which is today. Yeah, that was basically my day. Now I'm in my properties Dean's Fellow session. She's about to start in around 12 minutes. And I haven't eaten lunch or dinner or anything. So I plan on going to Publix to get a pub sub after this, just to be able to like function. I said I was gonna make my videos more aesthetic, but I just haven't been able to figure out how to make it aesthetic. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not an aesthetic person, but it's okay. You don't have to live an aesthetic life. I'll see you guys in the next video, and I really hope you guys enjoy the content that I've been putting out.